Hello, Sarah.
Hi, Kylie.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I am so excited that you've decided to come on to the show because we have met in person once.
Mhm.
We have. And do you know what it is? I am so looking forward to finding out more about you. And I've seen how much you've developed as a person in your business. It's a brilliant to watch. So I am really, really excited. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to chat.
Good, good. So let's just get straight into it, Sarah, and let us know. What do you do? What's your business? Let everyone know.
So I'm Sarah Johnson of Sara Johnson Photography, and I'm a personal branding photography specialist. I run short courses on mobile phone photography, which was born in the lockdowns, which I'll touch on in the chat to come.
Yeah.
And I also photograph pets and families as well. And that's how my business started, really. So that's me in a nutshell.
Fabulous. And we want to find out a lot about how you became to do what you do. I think it really helps our lasses in the lounge as well to find out what it is that inspired you to do that. And we'll get into that. We will.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just ask you a question? Because I know this comes up a lot. Personal branding.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what that means. Because branding just comes up all the time, doesn't it? And we talk about branding. What is personal branding? What does it mean? Yeah.
Well, to me, it means the person behind the brand. And I think personally to me, gone are the days of those corporate head shops. I think some businesses use them and they serve a purpose. They're a headshot picture. Everybody faces the same way. They all have the same background and it introduces that face. But personally, I don't think that tells me anything about that person. It's a background, it's a face. What else is there to them? And I think now more than ever, over the last 2 years of lockdowns, people need an online presence and people buy from people, and your images need to tell the story of the person. So personally for me, I like to share pictures of my golden retrievers because they're personal to me. Mm-hmm. I'm a girl in the Northeast. I like to share locations around the Northeast. I love being out in nature, so that I like to share nature pictures because, again, potentially my ideal clients want to get to know me. So I think it's an opportunity to show people the personality, the character, the interests, the people, and the why they do what they do. So I find lots of my clients like to get the whole extended family involved because they might have set up the business because they wanted to be at home with the kids. Yeah. So that's a huge, massive thing as part of their branding session. They might work from home. They might have this gorgeous office somewhere else. It's showing those bits and then starting to let them into the little bits that we like to let people know about our personal lives. Obviously, we don't splash everything out there for the world to see. But choosing which bits are important to that person in that business to attract their ideal clients, because I think you can't be somebody that you're not. And I think personal branding sessions are just so much more than just a headshot, that everything that you need for your business.
It's interesting, isn't it? I've had this conversation recently with Alexa Whitten. Mm-hmm. I remember when I first approached her, and it's interesting to see how she's changed, right? So anyone who's listening, Alexa Whitten is my publisher. She was on in the last season. And we talked about it, how when I first saw her on LinkedIn, and different platforms kind of, it depends which platform you're on as well. Mm-hmm. Like when I first saw her on LinkedIn, she's got this I don't know if it's still there because she's possibly changed it now, this very corporate looking headshot, right? And I just thought, oh God, I don't know if I can, because I'm very down to earth. I'm like, have a bit crack, you know what I'm like. I'm a bit scatty. And I thought, is she even going to relate to who I am just by that single photograph? And it just shows you the power in a photograph, doesn't it?
Honestly, it really does. And I think I speak to a lot of business owners that are more kind of product-based rather than service-based. And the question they'll always say is but why do my clients want to see me? And I'm like, but clients want to see who they're buying from. Stop hiding behind a logo and your finished products, let people see behind the scenes. And I think, again, as part of your personal branding session, I mean, I probably spend, 5, 6, possibly up to 10 hours on client Zooms before we even get in front of the camera. Do you know, it's like a massive planning process.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, what marketing things have you got coming up that you need images for? What's your social media plan for the next 6 months? Let's get all those photographs you need. Do you know, it's what you're going to, services are you going to sell? What are the whys? It's so much more than just like your mugshots.
Yeah. I didn't realise, like, I mean, I know you've only just mentioned a couple of things there that you do. In addition, I'm just thinking you just rock up with a camera.
No. Oh, I wish.
Like, you have to really start to understand them as a person and that.
I think you really do. And I think, again, I'm a firm believer in that there's a photographer out there for everybody, and I might not be everybody's cup of tea. And I see it, I don't see other photographers as competition. I think there's enough business in the country, the world, for everybody. And I think it's being true to who you are and trying to identify who you want to work with, both my clients and me as a, you know, who do I actually want to work with? And it's, you know, getting on a Zoom first and having a chat, you know, do we connect first? Because if you don't, you're not going to get the best from the images. There's no way, like, how are you going to get somebody to relax and be the true person by just turning up and just suddenly shoving a lens in your face? I mean, my God, I'd be terrified myself, you know?
Yeah, it is. It's
mad.
Interesting. It's I suppose that's like with everything that you do. It's like with the lounge, it's like people wouldn't necessarily want to be part of what we're growing in there if they didn't know me and my team as people. So,
absolutely. And I think you've got to show your uniqueness, because that person will get it, do you know, or they won't, and that'll be a client or it won't. And I think you've just got to let that go. You've just got to go with the flow. And I think me as a person, I'm not that like live shouting and screaming about everything I do. I just get on with the task in hand and trust the process. I mean, granted, yeah, I could probably be brave and do a few more lives, and doing this in itself is daunting enough. But if you don't push yourself out your comfort zone every now and again, like, you can't grow and develop. And I'm trying to do that within my own business and myself as well.
Excellent. You definitely have. I'm not shout about how much you have turned around your presence, the way that your accounts look, the way that you come across on social media that I've seen is phenomenal. Like, it is. And remember, we talked because we had our first face-to-face, didn't we, in the community gardens in Sunderland. Nobody had met anyone before. Everyone was nervous. It was all a bit strange because it was just after lockdown. I think it was like the first month or so, wasn't it, when we were allowed back out into the world?
Yeah.
I remember meeting you, and just thinking of what your social media was like then. It's completely transformed, hasn't it?
Oh, it definitely has. And there's so many things going on behind the scenes that I'm kind of starting to be in that place where I can start to outsource things. But again, I don't want to ever lose me in my pages. You know, you kind of build that up, and you know, but eventually you need help because there is only so many hours in a day. Yeah. And in order to do all of the things that you need to do as a business owner, the boring things, you know, sometimes if they're not filling you with joy and you can outsource them, then great, because then you can really shine through the bits that you enjoy.
We'll talk about social media in a little bit. We'll delve a bit further into your Instagram and your LinkedIn and stuff like that. When you wrote into the show, Sarah, I thought, and I read your story, it was just so humbling to hear how far you've come in your life. And I think this type of story will really resonate with a lot of lasses in the lounge. So can you just tell us about how the challenges that you've had in your life with your journey trying to have children, your hysterectomy, and how you've turned that around? Yeah,
well, I'd like to think I'm quite a resilient person on the whole. Obviously, we all have those kind of days where we're absolutely not. After going away to university and coming back home, I was working within recruitment. So I was a recruitment consultant for like two of the big recruitment agencies, and was working as a recruitment consultant, doing the whole 40 hours a week, traveling up and down the country. And I did it. It was that get up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, repeat the next day. And there was like no joyousness to it. And being naturally shy, I really had to push myself to do those sales calls. My knees were knocking constantly under the desk, but I would see it as a service. I tried to see that I would find jobs for my client, my candidates, and I would put them into the jobs, and I would go out and I would do the presentations, a bit like I turn up now, but just with my heart on my sleeve. This is who I think would really be good for your business. This is why. And I had a really good success rate. I met Simon, my husband, we got married, we had a lovely honeymoon, and then, you know, we decided we would like to extend our family with children. But sadly, that wasn't meant to be. It was discovered over various different investigations and surgeries and whatnots, that I was going through early menopause. And that's something that's really important to me, because I know a lot of women struggle with that. And it's such a taboo word that people say it and instantly you're thinking, oh, it's that like either talking about the change. And I remember, like, you know, you listen to family and friends growing up and it's like that, oh, she's having a moment, she's going through the change and all this, but there's so much more like involved in it than just that. As I found out, like I felt like I'd really lost who I was. I felt I'd lost who I was as a woman. And obviously it was heartbreaking not being able to have a family. And obviously I'm not going to go way into that, but it was really hard, really difficult. We then got our dogs, which are delightful, and some joy was brought back. But I was still having a lot of issues and a lot of discomfort. And it led to me having my operation, my hysterectomy. And that was about 5 years ago now. And my husband, unknown to me, obviously had decided I was due to have my operation in the March. And for the Christmas, he literally went all out. Like, honestly, I mean, he thinks he's Buddy the Elf in normal Christmas times, but like he went way overboard. Because obviously we knew what was to come. And he bought me my first camera. And I've always been one for like faffing, as I used to call it. You know, I was always going for the best mobile phone with the best camera, because I'd faff, I'd get creative. I mean, granted, looking back now, I look at some of them that I thought were good before and I think, who was I thinking I was? But now, like, it was just that hobby. I loved it. And I always wanted what I'd classed as a proper camera. But there was that kind of expensive thing that loads of people bought and they would just go on a shelf. You know, like they'd gather dust or they'd go in a cupboard and then they'd go on like Facebook Marketplace a few years later. But it didn't. Like, literally from the first day I opened the box and figured out how to actually attach this lens to this massive device thing, thinking, what the heck do I do with this? I never ever imagined that within 3 years of me having that camera, that I would be laid in a hammock in Portugal, in the mountains, as the photographer on a yoga and wellbeing retreat. I mean, I'm covered in goosebumps now, but like, I literally like was laid there with my camera thinking, what the heck is going on? This little timid person is laid in a hammock having a little break because I'm here. Somebody has paid for me to come here and work for a whole week. What's that all about? And I think only then did I start to realise what I'd achieved.
Yeah. I wrote down here Portugal because that's what you mentioned when you went into us, and I can see how emotional you got talking about that. Tell us about that. But like, how do you go from, right?
I don't know.
But let's just take it back a step. So you've got this camera. How did that help you change your mindset, Sarah? What did it actually do for you?
So for me, it gave me a new lease of life. It gave me a purpose, and it made me have that something to kind of focus on through what we'd been through. And I used time out in nature or with the dogs, and having that time where I would leave my phone at home, I would give myself an hour and I would go out somewhere and I would practice. I would practice and practice and practice with YouTube videos, magazines, articles, books, all sorts, trying to figure out. So I would take a photograph of something, I think, why does somebody else's look like that and mine doesn't? And it was just practice after practice. And it was I think it was one of my first outings after my operation, actually. My husband had taken me to a dog show because I used to show my dogs. And I was just sat by the ringside, happy snapping away and having a bit of a practice. And it turned out one of the photographers that were due to photograph this dog show hadn't turned up. And because in true fashion, I'd taken a gazillion pictures of my 2 dogs and posted them online, someone had come over and said, oh, would you mind taking some pictures of like the best in show and some of the runners up? And like, how would you feel about that? And I was thinking, well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. They might be awful, they might be not in focus, but I'll have a go. And it worked really well. And I was then contacted by a newspaper called Our Dogs, which is like an international newspaper who cover all the different dog shows in the country and abroad. And they'd asked if I wanted to register as one of the photographers for like the shows in the Northeast. I was thinking, oh my God, like I can't do that. Like I literally hadn't even registered a business. And that's how it started. So it was things like that. So I was, tottering off. I was still working at the time. Mm-hmm. So I'd spend all day Saturdays and Sundays at these dog shows. And I must be honest, they were long days, like 8 o'clock in the morning starts. I'd be there till 6 o'clock. I might be asked to do like a few private sessions out in the field nearby or something. And, I didn't even know what to charge at the time. I was just like thinking, well, as long as it's covering my mileage, it's a bit of a day out. Mm-hmm. And it was nuts. And like, I just started to slowly build it up. And I would maybe take photographs at the dog shows and somebody would contact me to go and do a private shoot, or I'd go and do the private shoot of the dog and they'd ask me back to do the family. And it was then just slow and steady. I started to build it up and then started to look into like, how do I set up business pages and what do I actually do? And I think it was through that, finding like funding and funded courses, that I then discovered, like I could actually make this a business and make some money, like proper money, not just like to cover and fill the tank in the car. Mm-hmm. So it's been a hell of a journey, and it still is, and I think people don't realize how much hard work you have to put in consistently, like all of the time, like the things you have to sacrifice, especially in those early days, how many, family things I've not been able to go to, or, those Sunday dinners out because I'd be at a show, and making choices. I think, it was hard, but I think it's just a reminder that it does eventually get that little bit easier, and yeah, okay, when you want to level up, you've got to go all in again and then make your choices, but it all comes right in the end. And I think you just got to keep going and keep pushing and just take that one little step forward each time. You don't look at like the destination, just look at the journey. And I think if you can enjoy that and as much as possible, I think like you're just onto great things.
Well, honestly, well done. You've done amazing. You have done brilliant. Real story, like to turn it around like that. And I cannot agree with you more with the guilt. Can I just say guilt? I'm going to say it. And this pops up in my life all the time. Like you get the comments, don't you? Like, all you're doing is working all the time. You never available. Like my son's up. I've just dropped my son off up the golf course, and I could walk around with him, but you've just, when you're leaning into something, and I'm sure you went through this as well, is I always try and say to the lasses in the lounge, if you just sit down, the people who are close to you, and say, look, I'm going to be busy for this X amount of time. It's not going to be forever. It's going to take a few weeks, a couple of months, but this is why I'm doing it,
Yeah. And I am so lucky. I mean, my husband is so much of a support. I mean, he really is. Like, the business wouldn't have started if he hadn't bought that camera. Do you know?
Oh, he loves that, does he?
He'll be like this, woo, watching it. His head will be. They'll be listening, watching this back, and his head will be swelling. Yes, Symes, I know it will be. But it wouldn't have happened. And thanks to his support, I remember giving up my part-time job because I'd worked in recruitment, and then I'd taken a part-time sort of admin job just to kind of get my head in some kind of space to think, what now? Like, what do I do now? And I just remember that time, like handing my notice in. I was thinking, what are you doing? Handing your notice in on a job that pays you a wage to like wonder what's going to happen with this little business thing that you might have. But I just thought, like, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I've worked since I was 16 years old. I remember working in a kennels, walking dogs in my wellies, trudging around muddy fields. I've always had a really good work ethic, and I'm not work shy. I always thought if it doesn't work out, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't,
I get another job.
Well, that's it. And you've learned stuff. Everyone's got transferable skills that they can do something with.
Oh.
You've learned stuff along the way that you can share, or you can go, hang on a minute, I could potentially go and do that and pick up. So I agree. I agree. Like, there gets to a point, doesn't there, where you're in like when I was working for the bank, and it was a huge risk. It's a risk, isn't it, to hand your notice in? And I mean, I was lucky because I was given redundancy, but there's still that element of, I have to make something work, don't you? And
oh God,
I commend you for it. I think it's brilliant. So you've been taking your pictures, dog shows. You've done Portugal, and then there's a line that you sent through to us when you registered your business that said, "Who the hell did I think I was?" What made you write that? What was going through your head?
Because I would watch what other people did. It's that whole imposter syndrome thing.
Good old syndrome.
Oh, isn't it? And it would just be like, because I think it's when you are setting up a self-employed. I mean, I don't know a huge amount of people. Well, I do now, obviously, through the lounge, but I didn't know a lot of kind of people within my close network that were self-employed. So for me, I was thinking like, oh, this is a bit like out of character doing this really out there thing. But I just knew, like in my gut, that I had to do it. I just had this feeling where, it was something I had to run with and keep doing it. And I think only now am I starting to accept everything that I've achieved. And that's taken like a lot of self-development work to look at like how much I have achieved, because in true British fashion, we don't like to kind of brag and shout about the things we've done. And lots of people probably don't know some of the things that I've done, but it's that getting the opportunity, I guess, to talk about how I've got to today.
Yeah. Like today. And this will be
like this.
It'll be so powerful for the lasses, because I think hearing all these different stories, it makes them go, hang on a minute, I can do what I want to do. And, some of them have just got these little ideas in their head. And it's just that listening to somebody tell them how they got from A to B through pure passion and dedication and hard work. There's no tricks, there's no secrets to it, is there?
No, there isn't. And it would be great if, when you see these things online, build a business and earn 6 figures in, I don't know, 3 hours. You just think, whatever, who, what? Nah. And you just think like, oh my God, like, as if, it's even things like, there's endless tasks involved, isn't there, that people just have no idea that you have to do. Like, nobody else is there to do it for you. There's no accounts department to ring. There's no IT department to ring when your computer freezes and you're crawling around the floor in your home office trying to like find out what's not plugged in, what's not working. And, trek, all over the place to learn how to do something because you can't afford to get somebody else to do it, or sit for 10 hours trying to update a page on your website, with YouTube open. Granted, it'd be lovely for a web developer to come and do my website, but at the moment I'm doing it myself, and that's the reality of it, isn't it? Sometimes things take a bit longer, but you get there in the end. It's all fun.
It's part of the whole muggling through it, don't you? And that's why the lounge is so powerful, because you can go, help us with this. I use it every day. I'm like, I didn't know that.
And it's such a lush community, isn't it? I think, there is other kind of setups and kind of different groups, and you kind of sometimes they just don't seem to have the same vibe. And I think everybody's genuinely looking out for each other in the lounge. It's that there's lots of people doing similar jobs, but it doesn't matter. Like, we're all supporting each other. Yeah. And I just, like, I've not seen that anywhere else before. And I think it's hats off to you for doing it.
Oh, thank you. And everybody who's part of the community. And you've touched on it there. So let's talk about that a little bit more, because you've been in the lounge for, have a guess how long?
Do you know? I have no idea. I feel like I've known you forever, even though so that's a good thing or a bad thing. No, I don't know.
It's said a year. You've been in there a year.
Yeah.
So we're coming up to 2 years in June, 3 years in June, I think it is. Oh my God. So yes, you've been in there a year. How did you hear about us?
I think it was through one of my clients, I think, had mentioned the Northern Lass Lounge. I'm sure it was. Because Claire, who you interviewed recently, the VA, she was...
You can't see her surname, can you?
No.
It's fine. She knows nobody can see her surname. Zola Kuna. She'll knock us now because she even...
I know, I'm not going to try. I know how to say it, but I'll fudge it now. I'm sure we were chatting, and I think she recommended the group. And then I'd seen sort of different things online. It was when I was starting to research kind of training and courses in business support. And I mean, I'm part of the Next Level Lounge as well, and I found that just a whole ball game of one of the word that you use, juiciness. I can't resist it. But it's fab, and it's like this. It's even if it's not necessarily like even some of the mindset stuff. You know, you've got to work on those bits. It's not just about researching the best hashtags and making sure you post every day or sending a newsletter every week. It's the other bits, you know, to help you get through sometimes the disappointments or the, you know, the darker weeks where you think, oh, where are my clients hiding? Like, come on, come on, where are you? You know, and I think those things just remind you that it's all right. These things happen. These timeframes happen. It will all come right, and it does. You've just got to.
You've got to go through. We're having a particularly quiet bit at the minute. I think I don't know what's going on online at the minute. It's very, very quiet. I think if people just have to understand there's change in people. They're going out more. The sun's coming out. People are not online as much, but they come back. They do.
Exactly. They do.
Come back. So you've just got to go with it. And you know what I love about you, Sarah, is so there's all kinds of different members in the lounge, and you go quiet now and again. But it's either because you're obviously developing something because you've got all kinds going on, or you're cracking on, or you're working on yourself. And that's absolutely fine. And this is what I love, how people don't feel like they have to be there all the time. And if you've got a question, you just swoop on in there and ask, don't you?
I know, but you've got to, and I think the beauty of these of the community and network that is set up is that you can dip in and out as you want. And I think it's very easy for yourself to get overwhelmed in these kind of scenarios as well. You know, if you were kind of thinking, right, I need to be in there every day, I need to be doing this, I need to be engaging, sometimes that can almost be a bit of a knock-on effect to some personalities. And I know myself, if I can get easily distracted with social media, so I have to be really strict and, you know, do the whole thing that you recommend and setting the timer, going in, doing the thing that you need to do and coming straight off, because otherwise 3 hours later I've watched some random gazillion stories on Instagram, I've learned about some new face mask, I've watched Mrs. Hinch do a cleaning, and then I'm thinking, hang on a minute, like we're supposed to be on here for 20 minutes and it's now lunchtime, do you know? So you've got to be really strict, because otherwise you can get distracted. But I think that's the beauty of the group, in that you can go in, you can ask the questions, you can see what people are doing, and sometimes, you know, you might do that kind of lurking a bit where you're watching from a distance and you're seeing what people are doing. And I love it. I love it
when a lurker comes out, you know, one that's never popped up before, and I'm like, hello.
There you are.
So going back to social media, before I came on, I had a little bit snoot about Sarah, and I looked at I'm going to go straight to Instagram, right? Because it is beautiful, your Instagram.
Thank you.
And that has developed massively, hasn't it, over the last
yeah.
And what's amazing, like you talked about earlier, is, so anyone who's listening, it's Sarah Johnson Photography, get that in there. We will drop your links in, by the way. It's like there's lots of personal shots on there, and you know what I'm talking about. And you said that at the beginning, when you're talking to clients. So what have you, look at your following, right? Your following's like double since the last time I looked. So you're doing something absolutely right, nailing it. What changed? What made you real? Like, because I don't think you had your face on as much, did you? You didn't have your personality. What changed?
So last year I invested in a personal branding photography specialist mentor kind of person. That's a mouthful and a half, isn't it? Whew, take a breath. And because it's something I love, like you, I love being around other business owners. You can have a brainstorming session, you can talk about your difficulties, you can share hints and tips. And I was finding the more I was doing personal branding sessions, the more I was developing and changing as a person. And I understood the importance of having the images before, but now I really get it. And I think by me learning all the positives and the processes that my clients go through, I kind of had to realise I've got to do this as well. Like, it's all well and good me telling my clients they need to do it, but you've got to do the thing yourself. And the difference in engagement since I've been doing that has been so much more. And letting people in. I've kind of got to that point now where I just think I'm kind of getting over myself in some ways. I'm starting to stop getting in my own way and working through that and not worrying about what other people think. Like, if other photographers are looking at my page and wondering what on earth I'm doing, crack on. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, I'm just in my little lane, in my little world, doing what lights me up and makes me happy. And there's enough business out there for everybody else. And I think just by turning up as me, it's more authentic and it's working.
Good lass. That's amazing to hear. Class. Like, you've turned it around, your energy, your confidence, it just oozes out of your Instagram. So everyone needs to go and have a look. Is that your favourite platform, would you say?
Historically, no, but I think it's because I'm mindful. You can't do everything all of the time. I think it's where my focus is at the moment. I find it, obviously, as a photographer, it's a very visual platform, and I find it a more positive platform than maybe Facebook. I think Facebook can be too opinionated, which I've used it that way myself, and I think sometimes it's easy to have a rant and a rave, and you can get caught up in a lot of different things. I find it can lead to more negativity. But as a business owner, I'm also mindful that a lot of my ideal clients are on Facebook, so I have to do the two. And that's just something I'm trying to work through and plan through a bit better for moving forward, because I'm, just trying to get my head around how do I do both and how do I make them both successful. Because then there's also LinkedIn. I'm like, hang on a minute, LinkedIn, that's where my ideal clients are as well. I need to be there too. But it's just trying to pick one and having a bit of a focus, get that up and running, and then pick the next one and try and keep that going. I think that's all you can do, isn't it?
Of course it is. You cannot spread yourself too thin. Like, you're just not going to get anywhere. Oh yeah. No. And I talk about it all the time. I'm like, master something first before you jump onto something else, because people just have this fear, don't they? They have this panic of like, I need to go and do this like now. Like I've dabbled in TikTok. I've got a YouTube channel there. It's doing now, but I'm not panicking about it. I'm just like, it's there for when we have the resources to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's all you can do. I remember going to my first ever like business training seminar session, whatever it would have been called. And I remember it was right at the beginning. And literally, I came out of that session and I'd had people talking about getting a logo developed, having the website done, having their colours done, having social media experts, accountants, setting up everything like this, that, and the other. And literally, I came home, wrote a spreadsheet, and I kid you not, like it was about £12,000 worth of things I felt after that meeting. I like came home and I was like, right, I need business cards, I need leaflets, I need a pop-up banner, I need somebody to do my logo, to design my colours, to do fonts and all this. And then I just suddenly, like, that's how I felt genuinely for about the first 6 months. I was like, right, so how do I get the money to pay for that? And how do I get the money to pay for that? But in the reality of it, people just want to know who's behind your business. Like, just stop. People buy from the person in their business. That's it. But you can't sugarcoat it. That is it, you know? And you turn up, you be consistent, and you let people get to know the true person. And all the rest of the other things are brilliant and definitely needed for a business. But when the time is right, and that doesn't have to be in your first day, month, year, you do the bits that you can do when you can do them. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither's a business. So just do the one thing at a time. Ideally start with your personal branding session with Sarah Johnson photography, but you know, I can't help it.
You choose personal branding then as your niche for photography?
Because I just love it. Like it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like I'm going to work. I feel like I am just spending time with another business owner, and I feel like I'm providing a service to help them shine.
Oh,
I do.
Nice.
I just think it's that, like,
I like that. I like it. So you also mentioned about, and Phelpsy will personally love this, she'll love it, gratitude daily.
Yeah, I do.
How do you do it? Do you write it down? What do you do? Share your technique. So
I do have a journal that I occasionally write in, but for me it's more of a thought. I spend a lot of time, obviously having 2 dogs, I spend a lot of time outside, hail, rain or shine, we're outside. And whether it's on a walk with them, kind of taking in my surroundings and what's around, like I'll never regret going out for a walk. I might be drenched through to my skin when I come back in the middle of the winter, but I'll never have regretted going out for it because it helps me have that sense of calm. And myself and my husband will often do something, like if we're sat sort of having a meal on an evening, we'll talk about kind of what 3 things we really loved about that day. Do you know? And I'm not saying we do it every night, you know, it might be kind of we're having a fancy meal on a weekend and we'll kind of reflect on the previous week. And I think it's really looking back at what you've done and what you've achieved, because then even when you're feeling like you've had a really rubbish week, you think, oh, I've had no clients, I've had no money, but yet you've posted consistently, you've had some good engagement, somebody's reached out and said, hey, you're really looking great online, you're doing really good, or just that review from a client that you've had. I think you have to keep looking at the positives, because if you don't, when you're having those really rubbish weeks, it'll turn into from a day to a week to a month, because you'll just attract more of the negativity. And it really works. Like when I don't do it, that's when I start to feel that kind of darker cloud starting to come in.
Oh, I'm going to take some of that, I am. Because I find writing it down, I just see it as another task. I do.
Yeah.
And when Phelpsy, for anyone's listening who's part of the lounge team, it came and she did I think it was a whole month of gratitude journaling. And instantly I went, right, I need to get myself a journal, I need to start writing stuff down. And it just was another thing I had to do. But it's even just sitting for 5 minutes, isn't it? Having a think and going, although you might be a bit stressed about how quiet it is, or you're thinking, oh God, this is not happening, or I should have done that. What have you actually done today? I had some amazing conversations with some absolutely inspiring women today.
Like, exactly. And it doesn't have to be complicated. And again, somebody obviously who loves photography, it could even be a picture. It might be a picture of a walk. I mean, the other night I had a stotting headache because I'd been doing some recordings for one of my courses, and I felt that kind of heavy panic feeling settling in. I was like, you know, you just start to think, right, I need to do something before this escalates any further. So I took the dogs out, went across the fields, and just for a second just stopped. And it was blowing a gale. But because all the grasses were so long in the field, it was hypnotic watching all this long grass just going in the, and you know, I just thought, oh my God, like if I hadn't come out, I would never have seen that. You know, and kind of I went around the corner, and then there was another girl stood like videoing the grasses, and the 2 of us were laughing because we were just saying, it's so, like, how beautiful is this? Like, it's just a random field next to the A689 in County Durham. You know, we just stumbled in to walk around, and that feeling of calm was just hypnotic. It was just fantastic. And it's taken those moments to reflect on what you've done, what you've achieved. And I felt fabulous coming back in and doing some more recordings. I was like, oh, I'm so glad I did that.
I love that. I do. I love it, because I am now really trying to get myself out. Now that it's getting sunnier, and like just blocking out an hour. I live 2 well, I say 2 minutes. It'll take us 20 minutes to walk down to the beach, right?
Mm-hmm.
20 minutes. 20 minutes there, 5 minutes down there, 20 minutes back. I did it the other day. I went to go and meet Paula Fowler. And I stood and just looked out at the sea for ages. And then I came back and I thought, even though I was stressing in my head going, I really haven't got time to go and do this walk.
No.
When I came back, I felt so much better. I was like this. It was great.
It's unreal, isn't it? And another tip I've found, I can't remember who told me this, but if there's something that's really bothering me, or it's like a biggie, that's, you know, it's a situation that you can't control.
Yeah.
And I tend to, like, if I go to the beach, I'll find some stones, or I'll take some from the garden and I'll write whatever it is that's worrying me on the stones. And then I'll take them to the beach with me and I'll stand by and just take in the sea and just take that moment in watching the waves. And then these stones that I've got with my worries on, literally thinking about that worry and just sending it straight into the sea, do you know, like, and then getting the next one and thinking, right, I can't control this. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just going to have to keep taking one step forward till it disappears. And then just look, honestly, the feeling of, like, you feel like you parked it somewhere else. And that's something somebody told me, I think on a retreat, I can't remember now, but oh my God, it just works every time.
Top tip. Wow. Where are you again? Where are you based, Sarah?
So I'm in Newton Aycliffe in County Durham.
Because you mentioned a beach. You're near a beach, are you?
Oh, well, I'd like to be by the sea, so I will drive however long it takes me to get to the beach when I need it. So we tend to go to Seaton Carew or Seaham within half an hour.
My beach.
Yeah, often at Seaham. I love it.
And what, is this your office where you sat?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Love that. You?
This is home.
And how long have you had an office at? Has it always been in your house? Has it always looked like? I'm just fascinated by people's workspaces. I love it.
So I used to be in a small bed, like box bedroom. And then I think as my business has grown and I've ended up with more stuff, whether it's props or kit or books, the lot, I've moved into where I am, into the bedroom I'm in now. And I just thought, I want to open the door, and when I open the door and close it, I want to feel like I'm in a proper office. I want my candles on, I want my pictures, I've got a vision board, and I need to be around all the things that are going to light me up. So otherwise I'm not going to come in and I'm not going to do the thing that I need to do. So yeah, it was a conscious decision to make it as pretty as possible.
It's a massive difference, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh God, totally.
Mm-hmm. Like for me, working under the stairs to now having this, it's like you feel like you're actually going into your own safe space, don't you?
Yeah, totally. I love it. I could spend days upon days in here. I just love it. Yeah, makes a difference, definitely.
Your vision board then, what's on it? Tell us what's in the middle. What's the key thing tell us 3 key things that's on it.
Well, I'll show you. Hang on. Hang on. So I'll show you and I'll talk through for the podcast. So this is my personal one. So some of the things have already happened. So for me, it's shining bright and helping my clients shine bright. Mm-hmm. That's a key bit. Rediscovering my identity, because I'm really having to push myself to do the lives, the podcasts, because I need to do these things to take my business on the right direction that it's continuing on, and it's growing, it's getting bigger, and that's important. So rediscovering yoga and Pilates is something I've recently started. I have to be by the water, so I have to have regular trips to lochs or lakes, ideally lochs in west coast of Scotland. I can't get enough of them, and just sitting and doing nothing, just gazing and watching the water move, ideally with the golden retrievers. I love sunsets and sunrises. I'm not too good at getting up for the sunrises, but I love sunsets. New car, which was something that's happened this year. So that's happened already. We've already had that holiday. I'm doing my Pilates and the sunrises. And this other one on here, I don't think will happen this year, but it's on there. And it's the Maldives, because we went there on our honeymoon, and I'm determined one day I will get back there. Don't know how, but I'll do it.
You've done most of the stuff. You're going to have to redo it now.
I know. Happy days. I feel like Can't be a vision board.
I feel like I need to come and knock about with you for about half a day just to relax.
Happily. Come over anytime. Spare desk for you.
Believe me, you didn't want this whirlwind in there.
I'll be lush.
Okay. Well, we're going to get to the juicy part of the episode. Hey, it is called Why I Lass, where I have some questions from the team.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew who I was interviewing, so they have been specifically structured around asking you. Is there anyone you'd be slightly scared of getting a question on?
I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Good. Right. Who's it gonna be? I don't want to pick Phelpsy again because I keep getting that every. It's Ruth. It's our Ruth. And she says, Sara-Louise, you take amazing photos of your pooches. I love how she knows people's names and people's pets' names. You take amazing photos of your pooches, Heidi and Lily. But who is your favourite fictional or famous dog and why?
Oh my goodness me. Geez. Wait. Pause the recording, let me think. No. Slightly random one would probably be something. I'll think of something better after this, I can guarantee you. But I remember I remember the first like Toto, I think probably, from like The Wizard of Oz, because I remember like my mum always had like Scotty dogs growing up, and I remember as kids always thinking it was this Scotty dog like mum used to have when she was growing up, probably something like random like that. Yeah.
What kind of dogs have you got? I'm not a dog person, right? But there'll be loads of dog people in the lounge. Why didn't you ask her what dog you've got? What dogs?
So I've got 2 golden retrievers.
Yeah. And they are called Heidi and Lily. Are they sisters?
They're not even related actually, no. So one's 9 today and the other one's 7 next month. So
there you go, doggy people. Class. So we're coming to the end now, Sarah. It's been lush, but I want to know if you can tell us, because I have had a sneaky look on LinkedIn. I thought I'll have a look over there, and you've shared a post that said I can't tell you stuff. So can you tell us what's next? What's in plan?
Well, I'm having a bit of a reshuffle around on my website behind the scenes. So there'll be a few changes on there as to services that I'll no longer be offering. And I am about to relaunch my photography courses. I've got 2 finishing at the moment. So one is an introduction to photography, which is a 5-week course, and it's aimed at beginners or those that would like to learn something a bit different, a new hobby. And my other course is like a business booster. So it's how to then use your images that ideally you've taken yourself, or maybe some of my clients that have worked with me as their photographer, how to start using your images better online. So it's a bit more of a businessy program, but based around photography and photographs.
I love that, because you're using your skill now to learn, to teach others. And that's something huge and massive that people can in business miss, not necessarily a trick with, but they miss a whole part of what they're doing that can help people and bring more demand in for them. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? And I suppose you don't get to that point until you see you're starting to believe in your skill, and and you feel like you're credible. And so I'm delighted that's what you're doing, because it can start to become passive income with like quick guides and stuff like that. So are they going to be like face-to-face or what, or how does somebody do it?
So these were all set up in the lockdown, so everything has been online so far. The next 2 programs will be online, and then from September I'm looking to start the introduction to photography in person. I might do that over the summer if I get some headspace, but for now they'll be online, with the view of meeting up though. So anybody that does the course, if they're local, I would encourage people to meet up, because there's nothing better than, even if it's coffee and cake somewhere local, and you just have a walk, you get to know people and just take some pictures as you go in. It won't be led as a course as such, but it's just nice for people to be able to meet, because it's lush.
Even if you do like, I don't know, it's just say you get so many people on your online course, and you go, should we all meet up for a coffee? Do you know?
Exactly. I mean, there's 15 doing it at the moment, and most of them are local. So
that's me.
Yeah, so that'll be nice to organise. So Yeah, and it's been good. I mean, some of the thank you cards I had, especially during the lockdowns, you know, it was encouraging families to go out together. And they would, like, I don't know, so like one would sign up and then they were doing the little tasks each week, but they were all going out to do it themselves. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the like cards and gifts and stuff, because they were saying, like, you helped us like get out. Like, but during all of the stress, we knew we had a focus just to be able to get out for half an hour every day and we'd take some pretty pictures. And that was enough. And I thought, well, I'll keep doing this.
Class. Well, thank you so much. It's been wonderful to hear more about what you've got going on. Honestly, I've loved watching you grow and develop, and thank you for being a huge part of the community as well, Sarah.
Thanks for having me. It's been lush.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Where's the best place for our listeners to go and check you out?
www.sarajohnsonphotography.co.uk, and all of my social links will be on my website.
And we'll stick them in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
No problem. Lovely speaking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.